Hey guys, today we're gonna go over another creative financing deal. The best thing about this deal is I actually live in it and it has like every factor of creative financing, subject to seller financing and private money. So right now, in times where interest rates are super high, this might be your best opportunity to use creative financing to buy a house as your primary residence and obviously also for investing. We're gonna go over all the numbers on this deal and how we got it structured, but we're gonna do this every Monday, a case study on creative deals, rehab deals, all different types of deals every Monday. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and follow every Monday for high value content. So this deal came to me through a PPC lead. This is actually when I just first started doing PPC and really increased my marketing. So this deal came through, it's in Maitland, Florida, and the seller inherited this house and his father passed away and he inherited this property and he's been behind on his mortgage. Think about like 8-9 months. So he was getting some letters of like foreclosure. So I talked to this gentleman, I went to his house, obviously had a phone call first. This is when we were going face to face back 2019. And so we got this house, talked to the seller, negotiated with the seller to buy the property subject to. So the purchase price on this property was $305. He owed $235. That was his mortgage. And for me at the time, you don't have a lot of cash at the time. It's easier to negotiate these types of deals. When you have capital, you're quicker to say like, okay, I'll just give you 50K down or whatever it might be that he was looking for. In this situation, this is the mortgage that was sub to. He owed in the arrears 10 grand. So we had to pay 10K to the mortgage company to bring it current so it wouldn't be foreclosed on. This is the arrears. And so he was trying to walk away with 60 grand. I didn't have 60 grand. I knew I could raise private money, but I also want to get in the deal as little as possible and maximize my cash on cash return. So with this property, I negotiated with him a 60K to the seller, but 50K was seller finance. So that means we only gave him 10 grand at closing. So this is 85.95. So we gave him 10 grand at closing. That 10K to the seller, down payment. That 10K to the seller came from private money. So I actually raised private money, 50K of private money at 8%. It was interest only, which is like 33 a month. This seller finance term was at 4% for 10 years. And so on this property, not only did we get in essentially with no money out of pocket, because I did subject to seller financing and private money. It's like the ultimate hybrid creative finance deal here. We were able to get into this property with closing costs. It was like 17K. So the 50K from the private money, paid the 10K down, plus it's about 17K in closing costs. So after this, I walked away with a check at closing from the title company for $33,000. The $33,000 was for renovating the property. This property was packed with stuff. Like I only got in a couple of rooms because he had so much shit everywhere. And it was gross. It's nasty. It had a couple dogs in there. So it needed some rehab. So we purchased this property. Within 6 months, I was able to renegotiate the seller finance. And that's the best part about seller financing. And a lot of times it doesn't happen so quickly. But for us, on this one, the seller actually reached out to us after 6 months of getting payments. I think the payments were like $425 or something like that and change. After only 6 months of getting payments, he came to us and said he needed more money and how can we pay him off quicker? Literally the loan balance is still like $49,000. So he came to us, he's like, hey, can you give me more money quicker and pay me off? And I was like, well, I can pay you off, but like, I'm not even done rehabbing the property. You know, I need to be able to, I have 15K left. I think he started at like, he'll take like 30 or 35. I was like, hey, I only got 15 grand. All the money else is set aside for the rehab. So we were able to negotiate a payoff, an early payoff on pretty much a balance of 49,000 for 15K. So this was a set aside for rehab money. So I actually did reach into my own pocket and pay 15K to satisfy this mortgage with 15K payoff. The best part about seller financing is being able to discount the note. And usually it takes maybe like a year or so later where you can go to the seller and say, hey, you know, I know I still owe you 48K, whatever it might be a year later, but you know, I just ran into some money. I just sold a house, a rehab, and you know, I have 20 grand, 15 grand cash. Would you take that for your 49 payoff? And depending how long this is, imagine if it was 30 years, they had to wait 30 years to get all their money. They might be like, yeah, give me that 20 grand. If you had that opportunity, every year I've told some sellers, hey, would you take a payoff? They might say, no, I'll just keep taking my payments. But if I do it every year, maybe increase the price, you can always get a discount on these seller majority of the time, there's a high probability the seller will take their money now instead of getting $425 a month for the next 10 years. So it's just all time and circumstance. Just like any other deal, when you're dealing with the seller, it's time and circumstance. If they're in a situation where they need money, then they're gonna say yes. If they're good, then I say no, but then in the future, you can always ask that question again. Hey, ran into some money, will you take a discount on your note and an early payoff if I gave you a big chunk up front? So on this deal, we were now able to get into the property, save $35K on that seller finance deal. For us, we were rehabbing this property. It was actually right before COVID. Everything was rehabbed. We were buying furniture to Airbnb the property. And so right as we were kind of buying furniture, COVID happened, and I'm like, oh, I'm probably not gonna be able to Airbnb this property. So it was renovated home, nice pool home, kind of by close to Park Ave area in Winter Park. And my wife we were living in a house that I thought I was gonna purchase from the seller financing. I rented this house on Lake Conway for many years, and the seller always said she would seller finance me the house. I lived there for like 5 years. Instead of moving to Ohio, her son actually moved down to her after he got divorced, and instead of selling me the house, he stepped in and was like, hey, we're actually gonna keep this house as a family. I was like, hey, if you're not gonna sell me this house, then I'm just gonna move. And so I actually ended up moving into this property and making it my own personal residence. Now, the mortgage payment on this property, $1,700. With that payment we were paying for a little bit was obviously $2,100, and the payment was with this is so it was roughly about $2,500 a month, the payment in the beginning for each month. And for Airbnb, we're looking to make like 8-10 grand on this property and have great cash flow. But obviously with COVID coming in, we moved into it. And not having this payment anymore, it was only $2,100 a month for me to live in this property that probably could rent for about $3,000 to $3,500 a month. Now this property can rent for almost $4,000 or $5,000 a month, and the value on this property now is about $650K. So just getting in at the right time, buying it creatively, I've created so much equity in this house, and I still am paying the mortgage on the seller. So with this property, you can do this every day on these homes. People who are in foreclosure, behind on payments, you can find these sellers, work out a creative situation where you can get in the door very easily with a little bit of down payment, catching up the rear payments, just finding out what the seller actually needs. You know, for the question we ask is what are your immediate cash needs? And for him, yeah, he wanted the $60K, but his immediate need was, hey, I need to bring this along current so I don't get foreclosed on and lose the house entirely. And then I need $10K to walk away. Obviously he needed a little bit more, and that's why we were able to pay it off. But these people in these situations, you have to be able to find out how you can help them. And if you can help them solve their problem, then you can get into a nice house at very agreeable terms. Not only are we doing this with single family houses, we are doing this with commercial properties as well. So it works for small deals and big deals. So me and my wife are actually building a house of our own, and after we move into that property, we are actually gonna turn around and Airbnb this home. And so once we Airbnb that property, and roughly if we make 8-10K a month based on some numbers I'm seeing, we'll be profiting after fees and whatnot, probably $4 to $6K a month. That $4 or $6K a month will be what is able to pay a mortgage for us on our new build home. So you gotta use assets, buy assets, take that passive income to pay for your liabilities, for your cars, your house you live in, or if you rent. This is how you create wealth, is you buy assets that produce passive income, and you buy things, watches, cars, houses that you live in, rent, with that passive income. That's how you create wealth, and that's how you have your money work for you. So I hope that opened your mind of how creative you can be with deals and add many layers to the structure to get into some of these deals with little to no money. This is gonna be a game changer for you and your business in these times, and there'll be a lot of opportunities ahead. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned every Monday to go over different deals creatively in real estate every Monday.